Welcome to the Skeptic Zone, the podcast from Australia for science and reason.
Hello and welcome to the Skeptic Zone podcast, episode number 433 for the 5th of February 2017. Richard Saunders here with you from a very steamy, as in temperature-wise, hot and muggy and steamy Sydney, Australia. More records tumbling. January apparently was the hottest January on record. Last year was the hottest year on record. And February looks to be very toasty, hot, warm and muggy indeed. I'm sure you're very interested in the weather report from Sydney, Australia each week, looking outside scattered clouds. But more importantly, what's coming up on the Skeptic Zone for you? We're going to kick off with an interview with a very dedicated lady from Ireland who's been on the show before, Fiona O'Leary, who is a campaigner against the nonsense and buffoonery put out by the anti-vaccination crowd. And in some quarters they've been likened to a cult. And I find myself very sympathetic to that point of view. It is a very cult-like group they have going there in some places. And you'll discover why a bit later on when I chat to Fiona about the situation where the movie VaXXed, which we have discussed many times on the Skeptic Zone, this Andrew Wakefield disgrace, was due to be shown at the European Parliament. Will it? Find out with our interview with Fiona O'Leary coming up at the top of the show. And in fact, towards the end of the interview, we break and have another interview with her. You'll understand. You'll understand why when you hear this interview with Fiona O'Leary. Following that, it's Brew Ha Ha from Australia Science TV, this week with Kelly Wong. And Kelly is going to be having a quick look into pig-human hybrids. Sounds a bit weird. What's the science behind that? Also news about instead of using little stickers on fruit, why not zap them with a laser to mark them? Very interesting. That's Brew Ha Ha coming up a little bit later on in the show. Then we have an announcement from the Victorian government here in Australia, the state of Victoria. Looks like they've just set up a new sort of a watchdog, a new department specifically aimed at receiving information about dodgy healthcare providers. Quacks! The quacks are quacking at the moment. They're running for cover. The quacks are ducking for cover, you might say, because it looks like there's a government department in Australia that has real teeth, real authority to do something about the ocean of quacks. The ocean of, what do you call a group of quacks? A gaggle? No, that's geese. Maybe, dear listeners, you can come up with a collective noun for a group of quacks. Anyway, find out what the Victorian government are doing about it, and I can only say that we are applauding this move. Then to round off the show, Maynard's back. Maynard's spooky action. Just a couple of nights ago, we found ourselves at Sydney Skeptics in the pub, where our guest speaker was Tim Ferguson from the Doug Anthony All-Stars, a big comedic star here in Australia. It was a packed room, and we asked the big questions of our pubbers, our pub goers. What do you think of patients who sort of maybe at their wits' end, who, despite their doctor's advice, seek out alternative medicine, talking about quacks? And thank you to all those people who did come along to the special Skeptics in the Pub night. And that was by registering at meetup.com/AUST Skeptics, Ost Skeptics. And a little note that we had so many people register that we had to have a bit of a waiting list, and we were ticking people off at the door. But quite a few people who did register, said they would be there, didn't actually show up on the night, which was a little bit confusing. And didn't help those people who were on a waiting list wondering if they could get in. So a little note, if you do put your name down for a meetup, especially for the Australian Skeptics here in Sydney, and you can't make it on the night, just quickly go to the website and indicate that you're not coming anymore, just so we have a better idea about numbers. As it turned out, it went okay because we did have a full house and everybody who was on the waiting list was able to come in and have a seat. And a big thank you to Tim Ferguson and Maynard for entertaining us with a terrific night. Tim gave a wonderful talk about comedy and then touched on many areas of skepticism, followed by Maynard in conversation with Tim Ferguson. It was a fantastic night, and I know everybody who was there really enjoyed it. Look forward to seeing you at the next Sydney Skeptics in the pub, first Thursday of the month. Now, I can't really go much further without mentioning the Trump in the room. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Yes, Mr. Trump sort of managed to sort of insult Australia. I think we're bigger than that, really. In Australia, we understand these things. We got a lot of laughs out of it. It's a double-edged sword. It is serious and it is comic at the same time. And officially, it looks like in various White House statements, our Prime Minister, Mr. Turnbull, was certainly called Mr. Trumbull, and in another document he was referred to as the President of Australia. We might say it's a comedy of errors. Let's just hope the errors don't get too more serious. We just don't know. We just don't know. But now it's time for me to not worry about all that too much. It's time for me to run downstairs, making sure I tiptoe over Henrietta and Maud, the Skeptic Zone cats who often sleep in the stairs. You've got to be very careful. Open up the fridge, see if there's a slice of pizza left. Hot and spicy. While I do that, I hope you enjoy the Skeptic Zone. Joining me now from that lovely land of Ireland, it's an old friend of the Skeptic Zone, somebody we interviewed, as far back as July last year, Fiona O'Leary. Hello, Fiona.
Hi, Richard. Great to chat again.
Yes, it's really nice to have you back on the show. Now, folks, Fiona is a campaigner in Ireland and, through the wonders of the internet and podcasts and things like that, around the world, of course, for the rights, the very important rights when it comes to people with autism, especially when combined with the anti-vaccination crowd out there and the movie VaXXed, which Fiona is tirelessly campaigning against. Now, Fiona, last time we spoke to you, it was more or less an overview of where you're coming from with the your advocacy for autism rights. But since then, in the last 6 or 7 months or so, this VaXXed movie has really been a thorn in your side, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the whole election and Trump now being in power that has made, given, I suppose, Wakefield and their movement a new lease of life. And I think they knew that was coming. So they've been very brazen and very much out there, very assertive in their movement. And like what we've seen, I suppose, of the last 6 months is that it's growing and that they seem to be getting more support, which is really worrying, and especially from politicians like Robert Kennedy Jr. And then we have Donald Trump, who apparently believes in this vaccine causing autism as well. So it's just a nightmare for us. All the work that we've done, I feel, partly has just quadrupled overnight, literally. And in Europe now we have this event on the 9th of February at the European Parliament where Wakefield has been invited to talk and screen VaXXed at the European Parliament. So it's just the Mad Hatter. It's just, is this happening? Yes, it's happening. And it's a politician that is bringing him there. She's an MEP of the Green Party, Michelle Rivasi. And we have been desperately trying to stop this event and educate Michelle Rivasi on Andrew Wakefield and what this movement is really about. But to date, we've had no luck, so we're still fighting this issue as we speak.
Did I see correctly there was a photograph of Andrew Wakefield attending one of the presidential balls after the inauguration?
Yes, that's correct. And Andrew loves to have his name in the lights, I can assure you. So he put it out everywhere. Yeah, he was at the inaugural ball apparently, but he has met with Trump during the summer. And so he seems to be getting the support that he craves, and it's really frightening. And the fact that Robert Kennedy Jr. has also met with Trump recently means that he's hobnobbing with the right people, so to speak, and spreading his misinformation and harm, which is going to cause more damage to children, sadly, and exploiting the autistic community in the process greatly. VaXXed is very much people very much ignore that element, I feel, because I have autistic children, and they use autistic children to fuel their campaign in the most compromising positions. And this seems to be worsening. I've seen this recently with their videos on their Facebook pages, that they've got very young children, maybe 6 or 7 years old, going on there saying, I'm vaccine damaged, this is what happened to me. So it's really just horrendous what's going on.
Now, you, of course, have been far from quiet about this. You're very strident in your activities. And recently you were on an Irish FM station, Today FM in Ireland, in fact.
Yes.
And I'll just play a short clip from that and then we'll come back.
To find the expert for them. It's very strange.
It's also actually quite worrying, this idea of false equivalence. There's always putting one expert up against somebody like Andrew Wakefield, who is so deeply discredited, who has been struck off the medical register for what he did, as if this is a sort of a 50-50 debate that should go on.
Well, we don't want him to have a platform. I mean, the worrying thing is that because of Trump, basically believing in this kind of ideology as well, I think Wakefield believes he has a new lease of life. And this film, like I said, has recently been cancelled in London. So it was due to run on the 14th of February at the Curzon Cinema, and we got that cancelled. Scientists and doctors and people like myself have spoken out against the film. But he has huge support and he has financial backing. There's a lot of people believing in this. We've got Robert Kennedy Jr. in America meeting with Trump.
Now, Fiona, I thought you did very well indeed on that show, and I thought the interviewer was sympathetic. But of course, and I'll link, folks, I'll link to the whole audio of Fiona's interview in this week's show notes. But after that went to air, you've been receiving just a torrent of abuse.
Yeah, well, it's pretty normal behaviour for anti-vaccine movement to attack because they don't have evidence to back up their claims. And so what they do is they're very personal. But today has been probably one of the worst, and it's just been non-stop on Twitter, on Facebook, and very abusive. I mean, I think I've shown you some of the things that have been said about me. And I'm happy to share that with anyone, because what I want people to know, especially the politicians that support this movement, the kind of mindset we're dealing with here, they're not rational. They are very aggressive. I mean, I've had threats as well sent to me today, like, you better watch it, stuff like that. I've ignored this. I mean, Wakefield threatened to sue me last summer. Nothing came of it. I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be intimidated. This movement is basically based on a discredited doctor who really shouldn't be given any airtime whatsoever. And I suppose that's what we really are concerned about with this upcoming event, is that this will cause damage. He's meant to be in Paris then 4 days after that on the 13th. And he was due to have his film screened in London. But thankfully, we complained, and other scientists and skeptics complained, and that was pulled. But, they're getting the support, and it really is because of politicians and Trump being in power. So, yeah, it's a scary time.
It is a scary time. And it reminds me again of something we probably mentioned last time, is that, by now this movie's starting to get a little bit long in the tooth. It's been around for a while now. And still have this situation when, we're trying to show it, but it won't be shown. We want to show it here. It's about to be shown here, like it's some sort of big news. It's getting a bit tiresome. And
it's they can see the film. I mean, this is what I really find hypocritical of these people when they're attacking me. They're saying that I'm censoring the film. That's not true. It's online. Anyone can see this film if they want. So what we're trying to do is stop the spread of this misinformation with people having it in, the European Parliament, for example. That is a serious concern. We don't want Wakefield having the opportunity to have Q&As on this issue. This has been put to rest many years ago. There's so many studies proving that Wakefield is wrong on this issue. And the sad part is the people that support Wakefield seem to ignore all of that evidence. They really are brainwashed. And some of the comments I've even had lately, I had one woman say to me that polio was a hoax.
I saw that,
this is what we're doing. Yeah. It's frightening. And I mean, adults, again, I want to make this point, that are choosing and making these choices with children. They do not have a choice. So it's the little babies that are being, maimed and that are dying from these preventable diseases. They're the ones that are really at risk here, or people that have compromised immune systems. And Wakefield has no regard. And I suppose with the Green Party hosting this event, my question would be is that they've got this great concern for the environment. They don't seem to have much regard for the safety and health of children. And it's just hypocritical, the whole thing. But when you ask those questions to Wakefield and to his supporters, you're immediately attacked, as you can see today.
I just say, Fiona, I must say that sometimes the Green parties do confuse me a little bit, because the leader of the Greens in this country is a very strident proponent for vaccination. And we think he makes the correct statements, and he's very firm in his opinions about this. But then again, on the other side of the coin, you'll get people who are in the Greens, so to speak, anywhere around the world, who seem to have very opposite opinions. I guess people are just people, and they have all sorts of views. So I do find that a little bit...
Yeah. It's strange, and I actually spoke to the head of the Irish Green Party today, Eamon Ryan. He's a lovely man, and he completely agrees that vaccinations are safe and do not cause autism. We had a long chat on the phone. But he said to me today that, people like Ravasi or Kennedy are effectively damaging their party by, siding with this conspiracy theorist, and it's affecting them as a whole. And so I think the Green Party has made statements on Twitter saying that they don't support this upcoming event. But that's not enough just to go on Twitter and say, we don't agree with it. They need to come out on a very strong level and say, this is crazy, this shouldn't be happening. And I suppose we're running out of time. It's the 2nd of February tomorrow, and we have presented this to the President of the European Parliament. We're hoping that he has the power to address this issue, because if it does go ahead, that's all I think of, actually, at the end of the day, Richard, are the kids. The kids that end up getting these diseases and the kids that die, and how everyone seems to have forgot how all these diseases, killed millions of people. We're very privileged. We're very lucky to even be living to the ages we are now. However, the anti-vax community will say that this is all some big conspiracy eugenics program, which Wakefield has said himself. We're living proof that vaccines make us live longer, and... I'm trying to expose what I'm trying to establish with people is that, they're just like the Bible, I suppose. They're so contradictory. But the aggression today maybe is a good sign. And this is what people are saying to me, that maybe, something is happening, that, he won't get that platform. But the work that we put into this to make this happen is phenomenal. There's a lot of work behind the scenes that people are doing. There's wonderful scientists, skeptics, activists that are trying to protect children. And that's what we're doing at the end of the day. We're thinking about the children and the people that will end up getting these diseases. That's what it's about for us.
Well, that's interesting you should mention all those crazy things, because I'm not sure if you just sent this to me today, because there's a string of pictures. But one of the pictures you have sent me is a picture of a T-shirt. And on the T-shirt, in big letters, it says, quote, "I love Jesus and the VaXXed team." But you've sent me all sorts of other photographs, including some of the postings of abuse that you've been getting from these people. But let's get back to this European Parliament and the screening. And as we've both made clear, this movie VaXXed, I've seen it because it's online. It wasn't hard to find. You just Googled it and it came up on YouTube. If it was taken down, somebody will probably put it back up again. Why are they making such a big deal about public screenings when it's freely available? And how on earth do people get a film to be shown at the European Parliament like this?
Well, firstly, I think if it gets a public screening like that, it has more weight, and that they can do their Q&As afterwards. So what they plan to do is have the screening. Wakefield will be there to go around and, instill more fear into parents. So, for example, if you're a pregnant woman and you watch that film, you're going to be like, oh, my God, terrified. And then you have Wakefield coming along and, instilling it more. And they have it very well, sought out. He has all the questions that are going to trigger this. It's all based on emotional and fear.
Sure.
That's what they're going on. And so having it in a cinema, I suppose, is more kind of professional maybe. And the fact that the European Parliament thing is crazy. I think probably Kennedy has played a role in that. He must have. We've tried to talk to this MEP. I've emailed her so many times. I got a response from her, actually, from her secretary, asking me, did I work for Pfizer pharmaceutical company? So I'm just highlighting you. I'm the big pharma shill. Immediately accusing me. So they linked me to another woman, a completely different entity in Dublin, And this poor woman is probably getting abused. So she's got the same name as me, unfortunately. So, that was my first response. And the second response from the MEP's office was, can I find an expert to bring to the European Parliament to talk about vaccines? So they're asking me and Mother in Ireland to find the expert when surrounded by experts. So that really kind of highlights that she's obviously not, very professional in how she engages on this issue, and probably not very well educated on this subject, which is really, really scary. And that's what we've done. We've sent her that information to look at the science, to look at the facts. She's not listening. And I mean, this is the worrying thing. There's a conspiracy rabbit hole, and some of these people are just so far down, you can't get them out again.
Yeah, it's true, and they will invoke all sorts of things and go further down their rabbit holes. I mean, that's why we end up with people supporting vax who are also chemtrail proponents and things like that. Just the craziness has no limits. And people often will accuse the skeptics of exaggerating or making a mockery of our enemies by using exaggerated, grotesque caricatures. Well, folks, sometimes that's real. Sometimes that's what these people are actually saying. And being accused of being a shill for Big Pharma is nothing new at all.
Well, I mean, I suppose, the other thing that I'd like to mention about Wakefield and about his team is how they all support Trump. And they've thrown all morals out the window, if they have any. I mean, if you are like saying, yeah, Trump is great, look at what that represents. It's not just about the vaccine issue. I mean, he hates everybody, basically. Within a week, he's literally destroyed so many communities, LGBT, the Muslim community, he's just a dictator. So they are supporting him as well because they're so focused on this one issue. They don't care who represents him. It could be Satan, it could be Adolf Hitler, as long as they get their message out there. And I suppose that's what we would say to the European Parliament. And would they have a Holocaust denier attend the event? This is the questions that we're asking. This man is dangerous, and he's, children are dying because of their rhetoric. It's happening. It's real. And it's just not acceptable to see an MEP do this. I mean, it's one thing with quacks and this movement, but when we see so-called, professionals giving platforms, it's just not acceptable. And I don't think it will go ahead. I'm feeling positive about it, Richard, because I just don't think it can happen. I just don't think it will go ahead.
Now, what was the date of that going, if it's going to go ahead?
It's on the 9th of February. It's on the 9th of February at the European Parliament. Half 9 in the morning, running all day long. So it runs from 9:30 till 9 in the evening. And then there's another event in Paris on the 13th. So Wakefield is touring Europe at the moment.
All right. Well, listeners in Europe, you do have time, if possible, to do your bit. Since this show goes out a few days before then. What can people do, Fiona? What can people do?
Well, to write to Michelle Ravasi, MEP. She has a website. She's on Facebook. She's on Twitter. Also to write to the President, Antonio Tajani. He's Italian, and he was appointed there in January, so he's new. And to write to the Green Party and to any politicians, any MEPs that can make noise on this issue to, come together and unite on this. And the more people that complain, hopefully they will listen to us. I mean, there is a way of stopping it. I believe the president has that power. It's just trying to keep highlighting how serious this issue is. It's not just a couple of people getting together, having a party with a movie. This is a serious event that needs to be stopped.
Yeah. Well, look, don't despair, because this movie has been thwarted on many occasions. If it wasn't for people like you, Fiona, and similar people around the world, this movie would have been shown in many festivals and public appearances and stuff. The fact is that we are more than just a thorn in their side. We're the tack in the tire of their bicycle, So it is good.
I think that's great, and I can't thank like the skeptic community enough, and the science community, and all these people that do that, because it's a lot of work, and the abuse you get for that, it's not fun. All I want to say is, we're not getting any enjoyment, so to speak, out of this, because we're dealing with very unstable people. That's what I can say about this movement. I try to talk to people rationally. I'm always respectful. I never, resort to that kind of behavior that you've seen today. But they just don't want that. They're set. One woman actually said, "I've got to go and recharge my batteries to come back and attack me later." So, yeah.
Sadly, you're right. We are dealing with a group within the larger anti-vax community, we might say. A certain percentage of them are very unstable. And this is not just me trying to make caricatures out of our enemies. It's true. I mean, I've seen some of the abuse you've been getting, and I've heard what some of them actually do to their own kids in the name of alternative medicine. And unstable, saying they're unstable is being charitable, I think.
Well, it is. I mean, but I just think that, I suppose I just make an example with the pro-life and pro-choice movement. We have a big issue in Ireland here about abortion. And sometimes, on both sides, they're so strong in their belief that you really have to reach out to that other percentage that are maybe on the fence and stop them from going down that conspiracy hole. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to educate people to not, walk away from, proper professional advice and doctors and scientists, especially pregnant women. What really upsets me is seeing Polly Tommy and Andrew Wakefield target a pregnant woman and actually say, you better not vaccinate your baby or this is going to happen. I think that's really dreadful and really just putting a whole fear into the mother's mind who, could affect her pregnancy as well. It could cause undue stress. So, it's just wrong. And I suppose that's what we need to look at is the consequences of their actions. And I don't think that's being dealt with in a serious way. And I would like all governments to look at this movement, especially Polly Tommy, because she has a charity and she operates a registered charity. And people seem to think that everything is above board. But the reality is she's out there spreading this message saying doctors are dangerous, vaccines cause autism. That's not operating in the right way for a charity. So the professionals that promote this are the ones that really need to be looked at now, especially MEPs like Michelle Ravasi. And I'm hoping that she will see that soon over the next few days, because there's a lot more going towards the European Parliament over the coming days. We have a lot of great people who've written letters, and so I think that she will have no choice, hopefully.
Well, folks, I've interrupted the interview with Fiona for a very important reason. That was a few days ago, in fact, and just before the Skeptic Zone is due to be produced and put out to the world, many changes have been happening in relation to this story. Once again, back on the line is Fiona. Hello, Fiona.
Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm okay. This is a few days later. What on earth has been happening in the last few days? And I've called you Fiona because I can't keep up with it all. It's just amazing.
Yeah, well, it's good news, I suppose. All the complaints that we made in relation to Andrew Wakefield and his film being screened at the European Parliament have paid off. And MEPs, especially from the Green Party, were outraged that this event was going ahead. So the complaints led to the film and the event at the European Parliament being completely cancelled. It's not happening there anymore on the 9th of February. However, it's going to be screened. The film's going to be screened at a nearby theatre called the Lumen Theatre. So what we're really shocked by, I suppose, is the fact that even though Michelle Ravasi, this MEP from the Green Party, who is responsible for organising this event and has had so many warnings from her colleagues and from scientists and doctors and, the whole community, she still is promoting Andrew Wakefield, even though it was pulled from the European Parliament. She is hell-bent on having it screened, basically. So, it's great news in one way that it won't be in this particular building, but it's still bad that it's going ahead at this theatre. So now we have another task of trying to reach out to the theatre to, hopefully look at this in a serious way as well. But it's not very easy to contact them. That's what I can say. And they don't seem to even answer the phone. So, we're working on that now. But, the reality is that we thought that Michelle Ravasi would actually come to her senses, because I have spoken to the leader of the Green Party here in Ireland, Eamon Ryan. He's a lovely man. And, it's actually really affecting their image and the whole party in general. So they're not happy with her behaviour, but she doesn't care. She's really brainwashed. And her update today in her statement clearly confirms that she really believes in this, which is very sad.
Yes, I've been reviewing some of the links you've been sending me just in the last couple of days as this story has been unfolding. So the good news is pressure was put on the MEPs. Now, that's Member of the European Parliament. That's what it stands for, isn't it?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. And, but the pressure, I just want to say, it was a lot of work. I mean, myself, others, there's doctors, David Robert Grimes wrote to the European Parliament, the President, the work that we have to go to actually, say that this is wrong. It shouldn't be that way. It should be the case that I think that members of the Green Party and other colleagues should just see this and say, hey, this is wrong. Why do we have to alert them? Why do we have to, poke them to act on this issue? They shouldn't be ignoring what's going on their doorstep, so to speak. So I think that's very disappointing that they're kind of just turning a blind eye to this activity within their party, and they should be speaking out more. And the Green Party, made comments on Twitter, but they didn't come out and make a real strong statement to the press, which we were hoping they would do.
Yes, it's certainly been a busy 36 hours for everybody involved. But yes, we must focus on the good news, and the good news is that this wretched movie won't be shown at the European Parliament, which is actually pretty important. I think that's a very important and a very worthwhile victory. The bad news is it looks like it's going to be shown elsewhere. I guess it's like the old whack-a-mole game where you whack one mole and another one comes up. But thank you for the update, Fiona. That is ultimately, I think it's good news. And we will catch up. It is good news. We'll catch up with you soon to see how this story is progressing over the coming weeks.
That's great. Okay, thanks so much, Richard. Thanks for having me.
To illustrate Fiona's point about receiving abusive messages, Fiona sent me the following exchange she had with somebody calling themselves Joseph Flammer. After a message directed at Fiona from Joseph, Fiona said, "Who are you?" The reply, "I'm a supporter of the VaXXed team." Fiona says, "You think you threaten me?" The reply, "You are just giving support to people like Merck, the pharmaceuticals, the CDC, and other agencies by silencing and shaming millions of parents who have children who are vaccine injured." Now, this to me sounds like whoever this Joseph Flammer is reading from the list of cliches the anti-vaxxers used. Big Pharma shill, CDC, millions of people presumably vaccine injured. And that's just, of course, a tiny example of what she's been copying. And then she received the following, presumably from the same person calling themselves Joseph Flammer.
Your days are outnumbered. You disgusting psychopath. You're a Haman and a Frosty, a Russell. Your insult to any parent has vaccine-injured children. You have no feeling for anybody. Disgusting. All you want is power. You're disgusting. I won't feel bad if you have a heart. You don't feel bad for parents of vaccine-injured children. I don't feel bad for you if you suffer a heart attack. Okay.
Well, I think that gives ranting a new benchmark to aim for. But it does remind us yet again that a lot of the people who are, and yes, I think we can use the term brainwashed by the anti-vaccination cult, as some people are calling it, are very emotional, very worked up, and probably think they're doing exactly the right thing. In fact, I think it was from a former FBI agent, there's something doing the rounds, saying that she learnt that a lot of the people who we consider to be on the wrong side, of course, from their point of view, they're on the right side and they're doing good. But sending abusive messages and ranting on Facebook and yelling into the microphone, I don't think that does anybody any good. But this is the sort of thing Fiona O'Leary has been copying in the last little while. And, of course, this is nothing new to the people like the Stop the AVN or the Northern Rivers vaccination supporters.
Hej svenska skeptiker! Du vet väl att vetenskap och folkbildning inte bara är trogna anhängare av The Skeptic Zone utan också arrangerar föredrag, pop-science-quiz och skeptikerträffar runt om i Sverige. Gå in på www.vof.se för att spana in vad våra 7 olika lokalföreningar runt om i landet har på gång. Och om du bor i en stad där det inte finns någon lokalförening, varför inte starta en själv? Jag pratar med dig, Umeå. Hello, all skeptics in Sweden. I'm sure you already know that the Swedish Skeptics Association not only is a big fan of the Skeptic Zone, but that we also organize lectures, pop science quiz and skeptics in the pub all over the country. Go to www.vof.se to see what our 7 local chapters are up to. And if you live in a place where there is no local chapter, why not start one yourself? I'm talking to you, Umeå.
And now, direct from the cafe at Australia's Science Channel, it's Brew Ha Ha with Kelly Wong.
Pig-human hybrid. Controversial science news? Or latest and weirdest superhero? Well, maybe it's a bit of both. One day, these little guys could save your life. US scientists have introduced human cells into a pig embryo, which were then grown in adult pigs for nearly a month. So not quite a pig human. There's heaps of controls and regulations to stop that from happening. So if we're not getting a pig human, what are we getting? If you need an organ transplant, it's really tricky to find a donor and transplant the organ safely. But growing organs specific to you could solve both of those problems. And this is where pigs are great. They already grow organs which are pretty similar to ours. And pigs and humans are different enough that there is very low risk of a human organ being infected by some weird pig virus. So these scientists are putting some human cells into the pig embryo, and eventually they could grow a fully human organ ready for transplant. But if you're still unsure, if this is still all sounding a bit weird, there's years of work to be done on it yet. We've got a new ally in the fight against the evils of unnecessary plastic: lasers. No more peeling those annoying little stickers off your fruits and veggies. Producers in Sweden are branding sweet potatoes and avocados with lasers. And over in the UK, Marks & Spencer are lasering coconuts with plans to move on to melons. The next step would be to use laser markings on edible skins, like apples. Don't worry, this doesn't impact the quality of the fruit. The process uses a strong light to remove pigment on the surface. In a country that loves our avo on toast, imagine how much plastic would be saved by replacing our stickers with built-in markings. We are so sick of unnecessary plastic in our supermarkets. Come on, individual fruit and veg doesn't need a sticker on it. And even worse, we see you in overseas supermarkets, peeled and packaged avocados, bananas and oranges. If we're picking a trend to reach our wide brown land, it's definitely lasers. Now that's what I'd love to sink my teeth into.
For more Brew Ha Ha and Australian science, head for www.australiascience.tv. Now, here's news of a meet-up in Victoria. The Mordialic Skeptics in the Pub, known as Mordy Skeptics in the Pub, have a meeting on Tuesday, the 7th of February, starting at 7:30pm, UFO Belief and Religion, by the one and only Dr. Steve Roberts, an old friend of the Skeptic Zone. Dr. Steve Roberts, a UFO expert, but how can anybody be an expert in something that is unknown? Will attempt to describe a UFO believer's mindset, drawing parallels with how religions develop. Steve's cheerful talk, I'm reading this off the website, folks, Steve's cheerful talk will feature numerous jokes, I hope so, what's a UFO joke, and relevant quotations from Monty Python's Life of Brian. This does sound like a good talk. All are welcome, except the Popular Front of Judea. Yes, very funny. Steve Roberts is a long-standing member of Australian Skeptics, and he is the author of Dr. Bob's Trivia Quiz, the answers to which you will not find in any encyclopedia. Steve has a PhD in chemistry, but now works as a consultant encryptologist for major banks. He even worked as an intelligence analyst during the Cold War. Steve don't retire just yet. Anyway, UFOs, Belief and Religion by Dr. Steve Roberts. It sounds like a really great talk. For more information, just Google Mordy Alec Skeptics in the Pub, or M-O-R-D-I, Mordy Skeptics in the Pub, or simply click the link in this week's show notes. So that's Tuesday, the 7th of February at 7:30 p.m, Mordy Alec Sporting Club in Victoria. From the website of the State Government of the State of Victoria at www.premier.vic.gov.au, new complaints watchdog on the job to protect patients. Minister for Health. The 1st of February 2017, media release. A new watchdog with greater powers to protect patients and crack down on dodgy unregistered health service providers and practitioners has started work. Minister for Health Jill Hennessy announced the appointment of Karen Cusack as the inaugural Health Complaints Commissioner, with the Health Complaints Act 2016 coming into effect today. The office of the Health Complaints Commissioner replaces the former office of the Health Services Commissioner, creating a new complaint system with tougher powers to warn and protect the public from harm. The new health complaints body has beefed up its powers to name and shame dangerous and unethical health providers. For the first time, anyone will be able to make a complaint to the new commissioner rather than just a person who has received the health service. The commissioner will also be able to initiate an investigation even when no complaint is lodged. When a new statutory code of conduct is breached, the Commissioner has expanded powers to issue an order prohibiting the health provider from practicing. Individuals who breach an order face up to 2 years jail. Dodgy health practitioners banned in other states will now also be automatically banned in Victoria. This will stop them from moving to Victoria to offer their disreputable services to vulnerable Victorians. For the past 7 years, Ms. Cusack has been the corporate counsel at the Royal Women's Hospital and a member of the hospital's executive team. She brings considerable legal expertise, having been a lawyer for more than 20 years, and extensive knowledge of the health sector to the role. The new body will also work closely with the Andrews Labor government's Safer Care Victoria and the new Health Information Agency to improve quality and safety and drive down avoidable harm at Victorian hospitals. Ms. Hennessy thanked the outgoing Health Services Commissioner Grant Davies for his contribution and for working tirelessly to prepare for the implementation of the new Act. Mr. Davies will take on a new role within Safer Care Victoria, where he will help lead the implementation of the government's quality and safety reforms and continue his work to create a better, safer health system. And this press release also comes complete with quotes that we can attribute to the Health Minister, Jill Hennessy. Quote, "We're putting the safety of all patients first. Our new health complaints watchdog will put dodgy, unregistered health providers out of business for good." End quote. And, quote, "The watchdog will play a pivotal role in protecting the public from unethical health providers who try to take advantage of the vulnerable and sick by making false, outrageous claims." End quote. And, quote, "Karen Cusack has a proven track record as a highly respected senior lawyer in the health sector and will continue the important work undertaken by Grant Davies during his time as Health Services Commissioner." End quote.
Üdv! Kraskó Gábor vagyok, a Szkeptikus Társaság Egyesület és a Szkeptikus Szervezetek Európai Tanácsának elnöke. Mint a Skeptic Zone podcast hallgatója, bizonyára te is fontosnak tartod az áltudományokkal kapcsolatos felvilágosítást, a kritikai gondolkodást és annak népszerűsítését. Ha szeretnél részt venni ilyen tevékenységben, vedd fel velünk a kapcsolatot a www.skeptikustarsaság.hu vagy az info@skeptikus.hu címen. Továbbá ajánlom figyelmetbe Facebook oldalunkat is, amit a facebook.com/skeptikustársaság címen találsz, valamint várunk szeretettel rendezvényeinken. Hi, this is Gábor Raskó, President of the Hungarian Skeptic Society and Chairman of the European Council of Skeptical Organizations. As a listener of the Skeptic Zone, you probably agree that educating others about pseudoscience and critical thinking is an important task. If you are eager to take part in either of these activities, we would be happy to hear from you. Don't hesitate to contact us at www.skeptikus.hu or info@skeptikus.hu. We also recommend you visiting our Facebook page, Skeptikus Társaság, or simply come and join us at one of our events.
Here's Maynard's spooky action at a distance.
Welcome, listener. We're here at the Occidental Hotel, which is in York Street, just opposite Wynyard Station in Sydney. And tonight's a very special night because it's not every night that a bunch of smarty bums from the Australian Skeptics turn up at Skeptics in the Pub. It's the first Thursday of every month. They gather here. And tonight they're going to be listening to a talk from the well-known Professor Tim Ferguson. Because he professes to be many things. Tim, I know you're a bit, you're a bit tense before the big show tonight here. There could be upwards of 200 people here hanging on every word of you, and you're going to talk about skepticism, science, the pursuit of reason.
Yes, I am. And I will express all my knowledge. But do the bouncers have to hang so close? Do you mind? Could you just... do you mind? Do you mind? Yeah. Put your hands back in your pockets. Thank you.
We've got Richard Saunders from the Australian Skeptics close by as well. Richard, it's a packed house tonight, isn't it?
It is. I'm one of the bouncers.
You are? Yeah, so watch out for that. So Tim's just going to have a bit of a chat, and then we're going to have a little bit of a break, in which Tim will go to the bar. If he comes back, we'll go into the second half of the show, which will be me interviewing Tim and taking questions from the audience. Are you fearful of questions of the audience?
I'm very fearful just because I can't help but answer them.
Yeah.
And people don't like answers, particularly when they come from a place of little knowledge but absolute certainty.
One of the things you will be touching on tonight is the fact that there's a couple of different varieties of skeptics. There's the ones that are not as sceptical as the ones that are in this room, for example. Could you clarify that a little bit for us?
Yeah, there are good skeptics and there are bad skeptics. There are skeptics that are endangering everybody's life and the life of your children. Don't go saying you don't have children. Don't get smug. You know what I'm talking about. And I will be talking about the difference between those two. Thank you, Maynard, for reminding me.
Okay, I just put it up there. Look, yes, I'll be nudging Tim. And look, and how long has Tim got to talk on his own before he goes to the bar?
As long as he likes, Maynard, as long as he likes. It's entirely up to Tim. But yes, it's in two sections, a talk by Tim, intermission where everybody can go to the toilet or the bar, whatever they choose, or both. And then part two is you interviewing Tim, so it should be great.
I just realised that's why the bar is covered in sponges. That's great.
Look, you've just bought yourself a Tim Ferguson artwork there.
This is for my son, who said you cannot miss this tonight. He's the funniest man in the world. He's seen him so many times. And, yeah, so I'm getting him to write it to Paul. Okay. And hopefully he might give us a photo.
Here we go. Now, of course, I am asking a question of all the people for the Skeptic Zone this evening. And the question we're asking many of the skeptics and non-skeptics here tonight is, what do you think of people with a chronic condition going to seek alternative therapies against the advice of their doctor who went to university?
It's potentially quite risky. I mean, but if they focus on the alternative rather than the doctor-prescribed treatment, I mean, that they could shorten their lives quite significantly, couldn't they?
But what if they're not getting any joy out of what their doctor's giving them? I mean, for example, chemotherapy is hell for most people.
I've never experienced it personally, but yes, I hear it's very painful. But it's, I I hear it's not prescribed all that often anymore. I mean,
okay, all right, okay. Well, look, we've got someone over here as well who's got an opinion. What's your name, sir, and what do you think of this?
My name's Gary, and clearly the question is not so much whether one should ignore the advice of a doctor, but the question should be which doctor's advice would you ignore? For example, if the doctor in question was Dr. Kevorkian or Dr. Nitschke, I suspect that you would be entirely within your right mind to refuse his suggestions of alternative treatment. And if it was someone like, say, Dr. Karl, well, you could probably see yourself on television as I survived Dr. Karl's alternative treatment, and that would make you a celebrity in some parts of Australia.
So someone who has a chronic condition has ignored the advice of the doctor and gone into alternative therapies. You've seen a bit of that in your history as a skeptic, haven't you?
Oh, yes. We see quite a bit of it. And particularly with the high-profile people like Jessica Ainscough, the wellness warrior. She's a very good example of somebody who rejected all conventional treatment for her condition, which was a slow-growing cancer, I believe. And she made a huge industry of her alternative treatment. And I think that is just so wrong. It's ethically wrong. It's morally wrong. I have a big problem with it.
Okay. And what ended up happening with her?
Oh dear, very, very sad. Well, she died, of course, and I think at the end she wrote a blog post about how she was exploring conventional medical treatmons, and she also said, she'd found a doctor who was supportive and who was helping her in a way that she really appreciated. So,
the argument seems to be that if people want to explore an alternative therapy and it's their right to do so, do you completely agree with that or not?
That's absolutely true. Anybody is. If somebody wants to explore an alternative therapy or reject a particular therapy or reject a particular treatment, my understanding is that they're legally entitled to do so. So I don't have a problem with the decision on the individual level. I suppose the problem I have is when people who've made that decision on the individual level then market that and profit out of it and maybe harm other people.
I've just been asking people what they think of people who go and consult alternative therapies against the advice of their doctor, which you being a doctor, Dr. Brad, may have happened to you or you've heard about that. Well, how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously people have a choice to do that, but how does that make you feel as someone who's trained to heal people and they go, no, I'm having none of that?
Well, usually they're not seeking my advice, so I don't see them.
Do they ever ask you? Are they, I'm going to go do this. Have you ever managed to talk them out of it?
I often see people after it's failed. So they've already gone down one avenue and they're a little bit stuck. They're not feeling much better.
Wow.
And
is it hard not to say, well, you've been a silly Billy?
Well, I hold my breath and, the whole role is to sort of treat them at that time and make sure that you're doing the best that you can. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's too late. That's a problem. No. So,
is there a new one we should look out for? Is there anything that's just come up in the last couple of months that we might not have been on our radar yet?
Well, everyone's talking about matcha tea at the moment, like ground down green tea. I'm sure that's the next
What's the idea
delicacy.
Of that? Is it the caffeine in it that's supposed to do something? Or
I think everyone talks about the brilliance of green tea, including antioxidants and the healing abilities.
That's a new one. We've heard energy, healing, brilliance. That's a good one. I've never heard that before.
I'm trying to think of any other ones that are around. Nothing too much on the radar. Just sort of,
And of course, what do you think of Tim Ferguson tonight there?
Oh, I'm a big fan of Tim Ferguson. I've followed him for many years, usually with binoculars.
And of course, he has advised that if you've got trouble with someone who's not listening to facts, you should ridicule them. I think that can be a dangerous path if you're not a professional like him, but how do you feel about that kind of advice?
It doesn't work very well in the clinic.
Oh, yes. Like going up and, ha-ha, like a simple... Yeah, you can't do that so much.
No, I think I have to have more of a professional attitude,
okay, right.
Especially in the clinic environment.
Well, thanks, Dr. Brad. Where can we catch you online or interact with you at the moment?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Just look, and when you least expect it, Dr. Brad will be popping out of your ensuite.
I'm on ABC Sydney on a Tuesday night with Chris Barth, on 2UE on a Wednesday night with David Pryor.
And look, I've got to ask you right now, is there a big difference between what the commercial audience asks and what the ABC? Because the ABC people will be asking you advice, where the 2UE people might be ringing you, let me tell you, Mr. Doctor.
Usually the ABC is a little bit more hard-hitting. They have very tough journalists behind the microphone.
They expect you to have some more facts with you.
Yes, exactly. Whereas with the other commercial networks, and thank you for that, we're going to a commercial break.
and with that, thank you, Dr. Brad.
Thank you.
Astronomycast takes a facts-based journey through the cosmos as it offers listeners weekly discussions on astronomical topics ranging from planets to cosmology. Hosted by Fraser Kane of Universe Today and myself, Dr. Pamela Gay of Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville, this show brings the questions of an avid astronomy lover directly to an astronomer. Together, Fraser and I explore what is known and being discovered about the universe around us. Join us each week as we take a facts-based journey through the cosmos at astronomycast.com.
Thank you for listening to the Skeptic Zone this week, and congratulations to Fiona O'Leary and her friends and the people who did put pressure on the European Parliament, the members there, to have that movie removed from the European Parliament. Will it go ahead in other venues? We shall see. Coming up on the next show, we hope to have a field report from a Sydney ghost tour. Haven't been on one of those for a long time. The last one I did was with Maynard, in fact, and our friend Alethea Dean. That was a lot of fun. We had Ouija boards and running around. They had spirit boxes and all sorts of things. Look, you know what? I'll put a little link in this week's episode in the show notes to the previous episode where we did a ghost tour, because it was so much fun. So look out for that, hopefully coming up on the next show. And apart from that, well, you know, we can't look into the future. That's something I should do. I should go out and see if I can find myself a copy of the International Psychics Directory, which is put out every year in December, January, where they have their predictions for the coming year. And long-time Skeptic Zone listeners will well know the story behind that, because I, at some stage during the year, I'll read out all the predictions. And, for example, their predictions for the year 2016, I think we judged there was one or two which was semi-right. In other words, they got close to 100% failure rate. What a shock. Anyway, I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll keep an eye out for ghosts. I'll keep an eye out for those wonderful people who contribute to the Skeptic Zone via Patreon or PayPal every week at skepticzone.tv with our endless gratitude. And I'll keep an eye out for the people who also support our reporter Maynard, at maynard.com.au, who works very hard to produce great content for you over at his website and his podcasts. But until then, and we wonder what this next week will bring us out of Washington, this is Richard Saunders signing off from Sydney, Australia. You've been listening to the Skeptic Zone podcast. Visit our website at www.skepticzone.tv for contacts, an archive of all episodes since 2008, and our online store. Please support the Skeptic Zone by following us on Twitter at Skeptic Zone, liking us on Facebook, and leaving a review on iTunes. You can also show your support by subscribing via PayPal for as little as 99 cents a week. The Skeptic Zone is an independent production The views and opinions expressed on the Skeptic Zone are not necessarily those of Australian Skeptics Inc. or any other skeptical organisation.